My dad came down here about 3 weeks ago and left this 2004 Monte Carlo Super Sport Intimidator and took back my 2000 Pontiac Firebird, which is now officially his. My Ram 1500 is just using too much gas around here in this Florida traffic. What our local government likes to do is okay 20,000 houses, not build enough roads, come back a couple years later, rip up the old road, put in a new road, maybe add 1 lane, come back 6 months later, rip up part of that, put in some drainage ditches and pipes, put in a new sidewalk, come back 6 months later, rip up the brand new sidewalk, put it on the other side of the road, and then they approve more subdivisions. It's one of these. Just chase their tail. So I like to have something small to zip around town in, and I'm going to try to get this thing all cleared up now. Got a bad misfire. I had to figure out what supercharger oil was and order it. It's got 160,000 miles on it, but you'd never know. It's really a nice car. My name's Jason. Welcome to Grease Belly Garage. Come on. There we go. Come on, baby. First things first, a few days ago, I went outside in the blustery, cold, overcast weather that we rarely get in Florida and pressure washed this whole engine. The sizzling means it's working. Then I created a whole new chapter or subset in the Urban Dictionary, putting this side post GM battery in this car. Hopefully the battery will last longer than 6 months. I was able to find supercharger oil to change out the oil in that. Some resources say you never have to, but I don't trust this car because of the mileage. And another reason I don't trust it is because we've got 2 original plug wires here that say Delphi. Then we've got 4 that look like they're from a aftermarket set. And I don't know if the plugs have ever been done or not. A lot of the hoses, the supercharger belt, still says GM on it. I think this car may, I don't know how it's possible, it may have original belts on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this cover off here, and I think to do that you've got to take this oil cap off for sure. You have to take the oil cap off for sure. Goodness, jeez Louise. Found some pliers. This is a set that I left sitting in a bucket of coil cleaner, so they're nice and corroded now. There it goes. It's got a little stuck in there. Make sure I put this over here where I can lose it. Take off our plastic engine cover. It makes it look beautiful. Whenever I take nuts off like this, I usually pop them right back on where they came off, and then sometimes I lose them anyway. By the way, guys, this is the handiest thing I've ever had in my life. It's actually an RV stool. It's adjustable. You can adjust the legs up and down. Amazon, I think it was like $100 or so. And it comes in handy when you're a portly little guy like me who's about to lay down on top of this engine like this so I can see. one for cylinder 5 was kind of the cleanest, it looks like. They aren't that bad, really. They're probably copper. I remember from my days at the auto parts store, all the Autolite plugs were all like 25, 26, 45, 46, you know, just simple digits. AC Delcos, oh, well, they used to be like R45TS, I think. R stood for resistor and T stood for tapered, and 45 was the heat range, and they don't number them that way anymore, it looks like. Maybe it's on the plug. These are platinum, and yeah, I don't think the old ones were platinum. I think they were copper plugs. The platinums usually have a little finer tip, or at least you can kind of see it right on the end. It might be like copper with a little platinum nub on it somehow. I always use AC Delco for GM stuff, Motorcraft for Ford stuff, and Mopar for Chrysler stuff if possible. It just seems like it's the better thing to do. And then these spark plug wires, they come without this little heat duber on here, and this just slides off the wire and you slide it onto the new set of wires. I think it's just a heat shield duber maflogger for the wires, or as my family in Georgia would say, wires. And these are plugs. And a long time ago, you had a tap and a rotor button. Well, I'm sure you've all heard the old trick of the gas line hose on the spark plug to start them in there. And then when you get it threaded in there really good, you just yank this hose off. Well, this is HVAC condensation pump hose that comes with new pumps. And I've got gobs of that stuff, and it's about 3/8. I've even used this for fuel line in a pinch before, and it works temporarily, but it works. And I don't do it on anything important, just maybe return stuff, or if you're broke down on the side of the road. But I've got gobs of that stuff. So if you want a little hint, if you need like a little sump pump or some kind of pump that you want to do water, discharge water, you could probably go on Amazon and buy a HVAC condensation pump. They're available on 120 volt, 240 volt, and they'll pump water up. Some of them will pump it up like, I don't know, 30 feet, 25 feet. There's different specs for them. They're not expensive, and you get a whole big roll of that hose to attach to the discharge of the pump. They could come in handy for stuff. They could, like if you wanted to use it as an impromptu radiator drain, for example, and you want to drain the coolant somewhere else, you could use one for something like that. I've used them for all kinds of things. Probably shouldn't do a flammable liquid with it, but they work for lots of cool things. So I'm going to lay in my belly again up here on my wife's old hand towels that have been retired. All the hand towels we have in the house now have pigs on them or some kind of farm animal. The only time these are going to have a farm animal on them is when I'm laying on top. So I'm going to jam those back spark plugs in first, and then work on the wires, and then do the supercharger belt and do the accessory drive belt. I'm not going to be really excited about doing the coil pack right away, because I really don't think that's the problem. And I don't like aftermarket ignition parts. I'd rather have an AC Delco, and I'm not sure if that's what I have. So I'm going to do all that first, start it up, see how it runs. I've arranged the camera so it won't pick up as much of my crack as it was the last time. So less editing. We'll see how this goes here. Make sure you smack the spark plug all over the side of the heat shield and whatnot to close up that gap. Make it run really good when you do that. Lifelong question, where my hose at? I haven't even dropped the socket yet on the back side of this engine, which is really, I mean, that's a landmark for this guy. There, pick up the trash. My New Year's resolution was to do a better job of picking up my trash. Picked up a bunch of trash. I went to our condo that we own not far away from here. dumpster. Got into a big fight with one of those guys. Now it's time to play like Michael Bolton and get back on my feet again. People used to come in and go crazy, silly about gapping spark plugs when I worked at the parts store. And I used to check them right off the shelf all the time. And there was very, very, very few times that I ever found any that were way, way, way out of gap. Just kind of look at it, and if there's a gap there that looks reasonable, and your little electrode's not bent, then just install the thing and move on with your life. Gapping points, far more important. Pickup coil and a stator is also fairly important. Checking the gap on some cars, you gotta check the gap on like the crankshaft position sensor. That's a little bit more important too. You can see the valve train down in this valve cover, at least parts of it, and it looks really good. Spark plugs in. Now we gotta do the wires. Yeah, this looks like an original plug wire. Sometimes you can kind of tell too because they're permanently shaped like the area they were in. Okay, got the new supercharger belt on, new accessory drive belt on. Found out undoing this and this helps with that situation significantly. Got all my new wires in, front and back, routed, separated. I usually like to do a little nicer job on this. I routed this wire through this engine lift because it was sticking too close to the fan. I'm going to get some wire loom separator dubers at the parts store. I'm not going to do the supercharger oil tonight. I'm going to test what I've done so far and see how it runs, see if that misfire's gone, maybe clear the codes. Here's the two part numbers for the belt. Actually, the size of the belt is a 6PK2295 and 6PK1685. Now, this is the sleeve from one of the belts I got. You can see the 6PK2295. I always worry about that because 30 years ago, belts, serpentine belts, when they came out, was like in the mid 80s to like 85, 86. You started seeing them more frequently. And when they first came out, they were a pain. In the catalogs, they never had the right size listed and the right amount of teeth. So I think the 6PK means 6 teeth. You know, it looks like 1 tooth. Yep, 6 teeth. And then the other parts of the number are the dimensions, of course. So as you can see, 2295 is like 2,295 millimeters. At one point, they used to get sized in inches all the time. So I guess it would have been a long time ago in the store that I worked at, it would have been like 6PK 60905, and I would have known it was a 90.5-inch belt because of 905, but it's actually 90 7/8. So the way they size these things anymore is different. Yeah, everything went really good tonight. I was going to go ahead and polish up these lights. If this car runs good, I'm going to start driving it tomorrow and then do the rest of the work as I drive it and get everything squared away on it. I'm going to take it and get the oil changed and stuff. Well, I'll take it to Jaime at my big shop, put it on the lift and check everything underneath. I do this kind of stuff here at my house. So let me go and fire this thing up and see how it runs now after I put this engine cover on. Well, there's still a misfire. Not as bad as it was. I think I'll throw the coil pack on and then read the codes. Okay, it's the next day, and I had to go and buy actually 3 coil packs for this car because they come in segments of 2. See? 2. And also, for the first time ever, a pressure washed an engine and now the headlights don't work. So I've gotten water into something somewhere where it doesn't belong. But we're making progress because the belts don't squeak anymore. And that's a big deal for us. Okay, you can see the old coil packs there have numbers on them for the appropriate cylinders that they go to. These new ones don't, because you can replace them in segments. Because these are magneto-resistance or something, instead of working on producing power through a series of conductors and fluxes, something like that. So I'm going to do them one at a time to keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method. Okay, I got in the car and got the window down. I definitely have gotten something wet under the hood because it didn't want to start right away. So I got out and smacked the starter relay, and then it started to act like it wanted to start. I did get this code, simple head code, anyone can catch it. Now this is a pretty good little reader. I've had it for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, and it does most everything. It does, I think it does ABS and airbags too. It's a really good one for what it is. I think I paid a couple $100 for it. But start it up now, and there is no misfire. It runs like a scalded dog now. I'm gonna clear these codes. I still don't have headlights though, so I'll have to address the headlights. This thing may have a body control module problem going on too, and I know the body control modules in some of these GM cars will call for things to come on, like you see the radio doesn't come on now. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to deal with the body control module. And that may also have something to do with these gauges. I know the stepper motors go bad, but I think they're controlled through this as well. Well, I got a little overzealous about my test drive, and my super cheap LED light fell down into the engine. Oh, better get my sunglasses too. I need those rose-colored glasses. They show only the beauty and they hide all the truth. Oh yeah, this thing smells better. Exhaust smells right now. Belts are nice and quiet. Running good. I've also got what seems to be a fuel gauge now, and the oil pressure gauge seems to be working better again. And the tachometer. We're still going 115 miles an hour though. Okay, I can tell that all 200 horses have been unleashed from this thing now, and I can even hear the supercharger operating correctly now. It's very subtle, but you can tell it's there, and you can certainly feel it. Okay, I'm back. Definitely a big difference in the way it runs. It's running great now. Nice and quiet, no squeaks, good power, smooth idle. I think I'm gonna try to reset the body control module and see if I can't get the headlights and the radio. Oh, look at this. I can hear a relay clicking, but the radio just started working out of the blue. Okay, so it's been a few days since I've monkeyed with the Intimidator, intimidating car that it is. First of all, it runs great now. I almost got myself copyrighted again. What I've concluded is we've got a bad body control module, BCM, and what that does is that controls almost everything in the car: windows, radio, wipers, headlights. We've got no headlights still. We've got relays clicking when I turn them on. We seem to have power in all the right places. There's just something with that, and I remembered from the old memory bank, the brain, I had a 2003 Impala that I bought at an insurance auction one time that did the same exact thing. So what I've decided to do was pull out the body control module, found a nice guy I think he's in Washington. I'm not sure where the place is. Gonna rebuild that for me. Then I found a guy to redo the cluster down in Fort Myers, about an hour and a half south of where I live, who's gonna reconstruct this gauge cluster for me. And while I'm at it, I'm going to locate some sort of a Bluetooth auxiliary input or possibly a new stereo to put in this car so that I could actually drive this car around. And you get real spoiled by that Bluetooth streaming music, talking on the phone stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this in my little garage and pull these modules out in the cluster. There's a million videos on YouTube. I won't bore you with that. The body control module is directly under this area against the firewall on the left. Not that hard to get out. The cluster comes out by removing a couple of screws on the bottom of this lower bolster here, right down in there. Disconnect your trunk switch. There's a bolt in here that comes out. I believe it's this one right here. No, it's this one right here. Sorry, that one. And in the glove box over here, there's a similar screw. Tilt your wheel down, put it neutral. Pry all this out of here. Around here, it just kind of pries out. Be careful with it. And then this whole, and you got to take this ignition ring off too. I forgot. You got to pop this off with a little pry tool. A little plastic pry tool works good on that. We'll pop this out. I'm going to find the radio solution via a radio or a module, like I said. And while that stuff is being redone, it'll be in there. And I'm going to do all the paint correction. Then when I get all that done, I think I'll fix the air conditioning system under the hood. Get the windows tinted. And this thing's going to be my new ride. And you can hear it's running great. Well, I almost backed into my collapsible director's chair from Walmart. I may have to move it over a skosh before I start that, but for tonight, it's in a good spot. I'll pull the module tomorrow in the cluster, get them out of here. And while they're away getting their rejuvenation, we're gonna rejuvenate the paint on this thing. So this concludes part 1 of the Intimidator. I'd really enjoy it if you guys would give me a thumbs up. Even if you don't like the video, share the love. I really appreciate you guys watching. Part 2 be coming in a few days. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
All right.
Tune in again.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.